Well, would you look at that? This engine's on my workbench again for the 300th time. That's okay, that's how projects go, right? This time it's to fix a real issue. The starter started going clicky on me last time we were out in Lake Havasu, and I had to get towed back. That wasn't embarrassing. Pretty sure I know what the issue is. Last time I had the starter apart when I rejuvenated it, all I did was clean up the brushes and the commutator a little bit and threw it back together with a little bit of lubricant, and it's been working fine. So that's all we're gonna do again. Your options on a 550 are getting a new starter. I've seen them range between 50 and 100 bucks, but I don't have 100 bucks. We're just gonna do this one for free in the garage. So come on in, you're helping me. It's how we save some money. Well, good morning. In a surprising turn of events, I've got a JetSKi engine up here on my workbench again. No, it's not all that surprising. It's probably the 30th time this engine's been out, and it's a project. Shit's bound to go wrong. This one here left me stranded on the far west bank of Lake Havasu, and I needed to get back to the other side, so I ended up getting towed the whole way there. Whole problem came down to this starter. I'd mentioned before I'd rejuvenated it. I'm going to show you what that entails because I don't have the money to replace it. I'm doing the typical thing here in 415 Garage. It's October 9th and it's already going to be 105 today. So 5 in the morning we're going to work while it's cool out here, but that means everybody else is still asleep. So hand tools only unless I want them out here helping me. So come on in, let's get the starter removed. It only takes a few bolts here and then we'll take it apart and I'll show you what I need to do. So aside from the obvious, getting stranded, asking why am I doing this, you can just replace that starter. Well, shopping online, a brand new starter for a Kawasaki 550 on Fleabay is about 50 bucks. The going price on most of your websites is like 100 bucks for a Kawasaki style starter or a rebuilt starter. Back in the day they used to have Goki starters. I haven't found one in a long time, but they were 300 plus, and find a rebuild kit for those today. Good luck. You can still get rebuild kits for these Kawasaki starters, and I might investigate that, but I've already been in this one and I know the brushes are just fine. So that's what I'm going to show in this video, is just refreshing an old starter that might have taken a poop on you. Saving 100 bucks. There's no reason to spend it when I know this one's just fine. It doesn't even need brushes. So take the starter off of here, take it apart, and I'll show you what I do to refresh a starter. So let's get going here. I probably don't have to remind anybody what engine this is. It came out of the silver 1984 550 that I've got over here. It belongs to my dad. This engine, after investigating, you can see it's got the bread box exhaust, so there's clue number 1. But the stator plate also had 1986 stamped on it. So clue number 2. And then if you recall in my video, I had this head off, and the engine's got fresh crosshatch in there, fresh rings, and pistons that have been run backwards in another engine. Whatever the hell that means. Made 170 psi though in each cylinder and goes about 40 miles an hour plus. Keeps up with my other JetSKis. But Haley and I got riding across Lake Havasu just to go see the sights, and stopped in a cove and clicka, this thing no worky. So If your battery's good and your solenoid's good, the only other culprit's your starter, which has taken some abuse this year. Those threads are about 4 miles long. Goodness. Okay, one starter. If you look on the back here, you got 4 screws. The little Phillips guys are going to hold your brushes to the cap, and these long slotted ones run all the way through. Oops. These long slotted ones run all the way through and hold the 2 ends together and sandwich the magnets here in the middle. So I'm going to do it off camera because I hold it between my knees and the screwdriver in my teeth, etc. Take these 2 out, separate this cap. I'll catch up with you in a second. Okay, I'm taking this apart and seeing some water. This looks super disgusting. This one's wet. Alrighty. So now, just a little bit of swearing, this should pull right apart. Oh yeah, it's wet. Fantastic. Well, at least we know how to fix the problem. Yuck. It's bad. Now you remove this end cap so you can get the other side off. Alright, that really wasn't as bad as I thought. A little bit of time with a wire brush and some brake clean. Got most of the rust dealt with here and actually got it all cleaned out. Armature came out looking just fine. Do have some surface rust here on the armature. I don't remember last time, but got the commutator all cleaned up. All you want to do, guys, just going to run some, I ran 220 all the way around here and then red Scotch-Brite because I like it looking smooth and shiny. But the important part is that you want to come back in here and clean these out with a razor blade or a pick or something because they all need to be separate. So clean it, pick it clean. That's all you end up doing on that. And then the brushes, just use that same sandpaper to give them a shiny surface back in there again. It didn't really need it because I already did this a couple weeks ago, but I don't want this to be the reason it doesn't work this time I put it back together. Now the reason this doesn't work when I put it back together last time was some idiot forgot to put silicone in here. Yeah, that idiot's me. It's also missing an O-ring, so I'm only half to blame. But since I want to get this together today and I don't have that O-ring, we're just going to put silicone around these lips here and reassemble it. Well, that's all there is to that. These starters are pretty simple and you can do it yourself, save $100 just like I did right there. So this thing, I'm just going to flog it back in the hole real quick, but I'm going to send it on over to future Ryan, who's going to take care of some fiberglass repair. Ryan, take it away. Thanks, me from the past. Well, here it is, all finished up. I got that patch in there, it's watertight. I left it just a little bit proud so my dad can finish sand it later and get it down to the right level, but for now it's watertight, solid and complete. came out really good. Fiberglass isn't too hard, and I could do it again later. I also took care of a couple other issues that came up with the last couple rides that I needed to fix, and ended up blowing this whole jet ski apart on my workbench, but you'll see that. So let's take it back to me from the past to show you everything. Now, today's the day for fiberglass repair. This thing's been in my way for about a week and I'm tired of bumping into it, so let's get started. I just finished chewing on a bowl of cereal and watching a YouTube video on how to do this, so I'm as good as any of those experts. The way they start out is by making the damage worse, and I can do that too. So let's get to the time lapse. Okay, there we go. I think I got this part all finished up, blended this out. I might end up feathering this out just a little bit more to make my patch bond a little better, wider out, like maybe take all of this and make it one piece. Got this guy blended in to fit though, so it'll accept some fiberglass repair, and sponson, it took a hit too. I got more of these, I'll just replace it. So caught up there, now I'm just gonna fill this in with some fiberglass repair and make it look perfect again. Okay, got this thing on its side. Decided that was way easier to work on it this way because I could see things a lot better, and gravity's gonna be my friend now. So finished feathering this out to how I like it, how I think I'll be able to work with it, and that's how the experts make things look, is a whole lot bigger on the damage. So my damage looks way bigger. I think we're headed in the right direction. So today we're gonna do some fiberglassing on this and hopefully make it look a little worse. So based on one YouTube video I literally only watched halfway through, I've come to the conclusion that this chopped mat was probably going to be the best for my purposes. Based on the guy saying it was easier on finishing later. I'm not really a body man, so I was kind of hoping to do as little work as possible in that area, and he said this one was the easiest to finish out and had the fewest awkward bubbles and pits and stuff, whereas the woven cloth, the cloth would always show through. And so he said the word easier, I'm down. So we're first going to start with just this one patch. It's been 20 years since I've done any fiberglass work, so I'm going to get my sea legs back on this big gigantic hole here and hopefully not screw that up, and then we'll work on to the harder bonding that line back together up here. So let's go. Here's the first patch after a couple hours. So I went back after it cured the first time and I put some more strips in just to fill in this valley here because it had all kind of sunk in as it cured, so I got that back up to level, and I'm actually happy with this. I think I'm going to just leave it. It'll probably need some fairing compound once it goes time to paint it. It's a little low here and a little low here, and there's some tiny bubbles and pits in there. Overall, I'm really impressed with my ability to pull out some fiberglass work after skimming one YouTube video just a few minutes ago and having done this 20 years ago, barely remembering it. So not so bad. I kind of got started on the more difficult of the project. I wanted to get this bond rail kind of glued into place so I could start laying some fiberglass in there, because this is going to take probably several applications to fill without leaving giant blobs and bubbles and stuff. So got this glued down in place and started shoving some fiberglass up into this crevasse I created right there, and kind of in and around and under, and got her glued in. That would actually suffice for a repair, but we're going to do it right. So got started there, got finished there. Just keep making progress. Alright, quick little moment to catch up. Got the sponson put back on, touched up where I ground down there, and since it's upside down, I wanted to fill that whole valley down there. That way it was fully reinforced and filled in, and then I'll grind that out. And then I think my last bit is going to be on this outside of the rail here and kind of outside of the gunnel. But I'm still practicing off camera. I really don't know what I'm doing yet, but getting better at it. Stuff's easy enough to work with and not too hard to learn. I've done enough layups now on this ski. I'm ready for the next one, and I'll show you guys where I'm at. I think I've got this figured out well enough where I'm not going to look stupid on camera. So some lessons learned though here previously is mix up more resin than you think you're going to need. There's no harm in wasting a little resin. It's not that expensive, and it's better to have more than it is to be scraping the bottom of your container trying to get the last of it out. Disposable brushes, don't try reusing this stuff. They're cheap at Harbor Freight, 59 cents for a chip brush, the little narrow guys. That's all I'm using, and throw them out every time. Get yourself a plastic container. A lot of times you can flex it and the resin will pop right out, but sometimes you got to throw it out. So I have two, and I've been using one as a disposal cup, and then one I'll scrape and reuse. And then the last thing is just be prepared. Have your resin on hand, have scissors on hand, have extra fiberglass on hand, have more gloves on hand, rags on hand to pick up any spills. Be prepared and have it all within reach here, because once you get rolling, you only got about 10 minutes of working time before this stuff is done. So you got to get focused and just get in on the job and do it. And if something goes wrong, you better be ready. You don't want to be running around your shop. So that's what I got here. So on the other side of me is my prep table. So that's the disposal cup I was telling you about, where I just scrape my used resin and throw my brushes. This is the one I work from, having sanding blocks and gloves and the resin and everything handy. And then what I'll do to start this process off, now I've got it taped off. That's really a guide, it's not dams. But to start this process off, I'm going to begin cutting little strips of fiberglass that I know I need to fit in all these little voids to fill that space up. And then I'll mix up enough resin, about twice as much resin as I really need, to wet all this stuff down and glue it in place. So I've got to fill this area up and then fill this area up to raise it some. So I'm going to cut enough fiberglass here on the table to do all that job. Then I'll mix my resin. I'll already have my gloves on, and I'll immediately get to work. Here's all my little fiberglass strips laid out and kind of my plan. So I really only want to stick about 3 layers deep, and then they start getting real slippery and slidey around, and you know, it takes too long. I think it's too deep to dry quickly enough. So 3 layers at a time, and I can come back and keep doing more. So for this guy, there's a void in here. I cut these little squares I can stick down in there, and then these longer strips to go on top. For here, I've got these patches made up, and then this guy only needed a couple. It's really not too bad. For up here, got some patches. That's a low spot. There's a low spot here, and then this whole thing will get covered in that, and we'll raise the entire thing up above grade. What is it? I don't know. And I'll be able to sand that out. So there's my plan for fiberglass. I'm going to mix up some resin off camera, and we'll get started. Here it is finished with that layup. So I'm going to let this cure now for a couple of hours. It's still a bit gummy and warm. And I'll be able to sand it all out. And that's another lesson I've learned, is you're going to end up sanding and grinding a lot. Wow, does fiberglass work have a lot of sanding. So get ready for that, but also you can kind of prepare around that. Like, build these bulky. You're going to sand them down anyway. I don't think I have any more layups, maybe on the side, maybe down here. This guy's feeling okay, this one's feeling a little low. I know I have at least one more on the top side of this rail to do, and potentially I've got some small spots like in here I could fill in if I wanted to come at it from this angle. So she may get another 2-3 layups, and that's just how it goes. You know, you got to build up, build up, build up, and then grind it all down again. So that's where I'm going to catch up on the next part of this video. Is let's just do a little movie magic and get towards the end here. You ready? Bing. You ever pick at a thread just trying to solve one little problem, then you pull at that thread and it turns into a bigger and bigger problem? That's about how my day's going about right now. So here's the fiberglass repaired, basically finished. Not perfect, but done. And as I'm finishing that up, I wanted to clean up the inside of the hole and take care of a couple of other issues I'd had, and started picking at one thread, and results in the entire mechanical driveline being out of this JetSKi again. Well, what the hell is the problem? Well, kind of looks like this JetSKi's seen some salt water. Some of the clues I had when rebuilding this engine the last time, I had that stator plate off and it was stamped 1986. And that would jive with that big exhaust. That's a 1986 product. So I think the engine's been replaced. Maybe that pump's been replaced. There's evidence of salt water here. And I'm not going to accuse anybody of doing a bad job, because that's not what happened here, but they had just siliconed over the corrosion, slapped her back together, and this thing was just flowing water while we were riding. So I was running the bilge pump the whole time. So that was one problem I wanted to fix, and just ends up you got to tear the whole goddamn ski apart in order to get there. So I'm gonna wire wheel the rest of this off, silicone it back, and squeeze it in place so that doesn't leak again, and you can get all this stuff put back together. And we're back to future time, or present time. It's actually past time. I recorded this a week ago. Let's not work on that right now. We got other stuff to do. This ski's finished up though. I can store it for the rest of the winter. I'm interested in making it go faster. My dad's interested in making it look better. Maybe we'll meet in the middle somewhere. So we'll hope to see this one again later. I hope to see you guys again later. I appreciate everybody for watching. I'll see you again later. Bye.
Meant to be.